I declared bankruptcy. Just kidding, April Fools. I have much better news to share on this day that is my 27th birthday, and also April Fool's Day, and that's that my law firm, after losing something like $30,000 or $40,000 in February, turned a profit in March. The operational improvements we've made as a team over the last couple of months have really started to pay off, and we're really getting into a nice groove with our current team and current setup, but there's still plenty of work to do, and we're still looking forward, and we're back on the hiring front in trying to expand this thing now that we have some idea of what we're doing. I'm filming this a few days before the end of the month, so I don't have the final numbers yet, but we are really close, if not actually beyond, hitting our $1 million per year annualized revenue target if you extrapolate this month out to future months. So that is a really great sign. It means that we're very close to being where we really want to be with our current team structure, and we might actually be well beyond that looking ahead to April, since we continue to bring in new retainers, we're getting new clients in the door, and things are looking increasingly solid on the intake side and also the fulfillment and legal side. It's pretty wild to think that just a few months ago, the firm as a whole might have been making about $30,000 per month in revenue, and we've nearly tripled that just a few months later. So it's been really awesome to see the team really step up, and very reassuring to see that the performance is following that. And there are definitely a lot of exciting things ahead. And it's refreshing this month not to have to tap into new debt to pay for operations at the law firm. Instead, we actually sustained our own operations with revenue from our actual services. You know, like a law firm is supposed to do. Of course, we'll have to be very careful not to overextend again, but the good part is we have a really nice foundation to go off of now, which really wasn't there just a few months ago. Meanwhile, on the steam cleaning side of things, that business continues to lose money, but revenue is ticking up. The new manager has done a wonderful job of getting out there and trying to get new, mainly commercial business, which tends to be more recurring. So that's been going quite well, if all things considered, and that revenue is up about 50% from just a couple of months ago. So ideally, if we're able to continue that momentum, the business should be break even pretty soon, but we'll see what happens. The good part is the trend is in the positive direction. And now I'm 27, so I know that much more about everything, which technically means I have 3 years left to reach my $1 million net worth target. We'll see what happens. Frankly, it's kind of an arbitrary number anyways, and with all the dollar devaluation that's gone on in the past few years, $1 million is worth quite a bit less than it was just a few years ago when I started this series. But hey, that's okay. It's still a challenge nevertheless, and it is a significant amount of money, at least in today's value. But it's not like everything would stop at that point. It's really just to have a goal to shoot for that would put us in a much better position than if we didn't have that goal. At least that's the theory. But if you're interested in following along, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future months' updates. I put out a new one of these every single month on the 1st, where I go over my net worth and the changes from the previous month in trying to reach that $1 million mark. With that said, let's get into this month's net worth numbers. As a reminder, last month our net worth was about $114,000. As always, let's start with the good stuff, the assets. I sold almost all of my portfolio and moved it into a mix of gold and Bed Bath & Beyond calls. Just kidding, April Fools again.
We do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
The biggest changes here are twofold. One, I did tick up my Duffley Law equity balance, which is kind of arbitrary. One, because I'm not really trying to sell this thing, and two, because it's changing all the time, because the numbers are changing all the time on the revenue and profit side. Now we're actually profitable, so that's nice. But I'm just kind of doing a very, very rough and probably pretty conservative estimate on what it's actually worth given the revenue that we're bringing in now. But we'll see. I'm trying not to rely too heavily on this with our net worth numbers, but it does kind of help my ego a bit, as I've stated before. But it is and very likely will be my most major asset and biggest project that I'll be working on for a very long time, so it makes sense that it should play some role on my balance sheet. And that's not to mention the many thousands of dollars in deposits that we have at any one time. So that was one big change from last month, and the other is my business loan, which you don't see here anymore. That was paid off, and we collected a nice profit on that, so that is all done and is closed out. We ended up collecting less than we would have been owed at one point, but it didn't really matter. It ended up being a nice profit anyways, and I'm not a loan shark, so I didn't really want to try and do some big collection action or something like that. It just didn't make a lot of sense. So we just cut a deal and we made a nice profit at the end of the day. Otherwise, not a whole lot has changed. I will mention again that this is not all of my cash. I do have some cash in reserve accounts for real estate. Not a ton more than what's currently here, but it is something there to cover repairs. We may have a repair coming up for one of the properties that's having some sort of plumbing issue. Fingers crossed that that's not a horrible thing, but It happens in real estate, especially with old buildings, which this one is. But in total, that leaves us with $1.22 million in assets. And now onto liabilities. Like I mentioned earlier, unlike a couple of months ago, this last month I didn't actually take out any new debt. So that was good. We stopped the bleeding. And if we flip on over to the debt paydown chart, you can see that we paid off a little bit over $3,000 in debt, and that was pretty much all through minimum payments. And I would like to really start accelerating in this in the second half of the year. If the law firm gets to where I think it might in really just the next few months, I think we'll be able to do this pretty aggressively, but we'll see what happens. The main priority is to make sure we have enough cash at any one time to shore up any liquidity crises and to make sure we can pay for operations. And part of that can come by paying down credit lines, which is what I'm going to focus on first, because I could always re-tap into those as long as they aren't closed out for some reason. But I'd still have some flexibility there compared to throwing it at a fixed term loan or a non-revolving loan that I couldn't take the money back out from. So that probably means I'll focus on the credit cards up here first, and then maybe the HELOC as well, since those are revolving, and it'd be good to get those down. Plus they're variable rates, so if rates were to suddenly jump even more than they have in the past few years, which is always a possibility, that at least would contain some of that interest rate risk. But in total, that leaves us with just over $1.1 million in liabilities, which means our net worth has decreased to just under $110,000, which is a decrease of just over $4,000 from last month. Our debt ratio has increased to 91.03%, and our passive income remains at about $600 per month. So considering how bad things were a couple months ago, this is a pretty awesome month. We didn't take out any new debt, law firm hit profitability, and the steam cleaning business is increasing revenue at a nice clip. The goal in the coming months is to continue that trend. I'm absolutely looking forward to what we can do on the law firm side of things. So far, it's been a lot of stuff going on and a lot of things to learn, and I have learned a lot just over the past year. We're approaching the 1 year mark since I technically opened the firm, although I really didn't start focusing on it in earnest until about August of last year. So it's really been about half a year of really intense focus on it. And it's been awesome not only to learn so much more about the business itself, but also to bring in all the people who've joined. And we really have a team of A players. And it's been awesome working with them on a day-to-day basis and seeing what they can achieve and seeing what we can all achieve together. It's really just an awesome experience, and I'm looking forward to the coming years working on that, especially if it means we can make some money doing it. 26 proved to be an interesting year with quite a bit of unexpected volatility, especially after I got laid off from my big law job and dove headlong into this solo law firm thing that's now not even a solo shop. It is a proper law firm with multiple attorneys and multiple staff and lots of people pitching in, so it's definitely not a solo shop anymore. And we'll see how much more or less volatile 27 will be, but I'm looking forward to the lessons that I'll learn through it nevertheless, and I think they'll only be more valuable as time goes on. Thank you to those of you who've been supporting me along the way, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss future updates if this is something you're interested in. But either way, thanks for watching, and until next time.